Hello again, my name's John. I'm a retired cook from the northeast of England in the UK, and welcome to another one of my video recipes. And in this one I'll show you how to make two sugar-free versions of this old classic dessert, rice pudding. The quick method where it's cooked in a pan on the stove top, and the more traditional method of baking it in the oven. Both versions are very easy to make and, like I said, sugar-free. You can see the ingredients list and full written method for this recipe on the recipe page on the channel's website, and the link to that page and lots more is in the description box under the video. Just find and click on the word more, and that'll give you access to all the relative links for this video, including our website store products. Okay, let's get on with today's recipe. A quick word about the rice I'll be using. Now here's two options that can be used in making rice pudding. The first is actually called pudding or short grain rice, also known as pearl or Carolina rice, and it's widely preferred for making rice pudding because it produces a thicker and stickier rice pudding. The second rice that I'll be using is basmati or long grain rice. I like to use this variety for making the pudding on the hob, where I can control how thick and sticky it gets. And it also has a slightly floral but pleasant aromatic flavour. But honestly, I don't mind using either. Both of them will make a perfectly good rice pudding that the whole family would enjoy. And one final point, don't wash or rinse the rice when making rice pudding. You need to retain the starch on those grains, and that's what creates the creamy texture. Before going any further, preheat your oven to 160 Celsius. That's 320 Fahrenheit or gas mark 3. Right, I'll start by making the oven bake version first. Pour the milk into a lightly buttered oven dish like this one. The dimensions of the dish that I'm using are on screen. And now you can add the orange zest. This gives the pudding a fantastic citrus flavour. Right, now as this is a sugar-free recipe, the next to go in is this granulated sugar substitute. There's loads of sweetener options you can get these days. Do a little research and find the one that you like. But if you do want to use ordinary sugar, you'll need 50 grams, that's 1.8 ounces. Time to add the 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Now give that a good mix before you add the rice. And a very quick mention to the channel's Patreon, PayPal and Super Thanks supporters. I'll do the name splash and shout out a little later in the video. For this oven version of the dessert, I'm using the pudding or short grain rice for the reasons I explained earlier. Now sprinkle it in as evenly spread as possible. And once it's in the dish, don't stir it. That way it'll swell evenly across the dish as it absorbs the milk. Right, carefully transfer it to the preheated oven. Once it's in, let it bake for 1 hour and 30 minutes. Okay, while that's baking in the oven, I'll show you how to make the stovetop and much quicker version of this rice pudding. Start by adding the milk to a medium-sized saucepan. Now basically add all of the other ingredients. They're the exact same quantities as the oven version. Finally add the basmati rice and give that a good stir. Once everything's combined, get it onto a medium heat on the stove top. One thing you must do with this version is to stir every few minutes. Try to use a wooden spatula like this one. If you don't stir at regular intervals, it will catch on the bottom of the pan. Once you see the bubbles start forming around the edge of the milk, turn the heat down to its lowest setting. Now get the lid on and set your timer for 30 minutes. But give it a good stir with the spatula every 5 minutes or so. Try to keep the bottom of the pan free from anything sticking. And here's a top tip. If you do start to notice it sticking on the bottom of the pan, get it off the heat and let it sit for 3 or 4 minutes. That usually gets rid of any build-up on the bottom of the pan. Then you can get it back on the heat and start cooking again. And that applies to other things as well, like gravy and sauces. And after 15 minutes it'll be starting to thicken. Down to the last few minutes. Now you can add the cream and stir it in. Bring it back up to temperature slowly, constantly stirring, keeping the bottom clear of any build-up. And once the time's up, grate in a little nutmeg and mix it in. By the way, these handy little stainless steel nutmeg graters are now available in the store if you're interested. I'll even throw in a free nutmeg to get you started. Right, I'll give that a good mix in, and you can always add a little more nutmeg when it's served up in the bowl. Turn off the heat, and that's it, your rice pudding is ready to serve. And before I go any further, I hope you don't mind if I give my 4 recipe books a quick shout out. The books have lots of our favourite recipes from our work kitchens in them, and also book 4 in this series is totally dedicated to bread recipes. I'll give this one a try before I show you how the oven bake one is doing. And as you can see, this basmati rice makes a fantastic rice pudding. You can serve it hot or cold. Personally, given a choice, I'd have it hot every time. And once it's in the bowl, give it a little more nutmeg. You can also add a little strawberry syrup or jam at this point. But being a diabetic, I'm sticking with the sugar-free version. When we got this at school dinners back in the early 60s, they always added a spoonful of a red syrup. Can any of you older UK guys remember what it was called? Answers in the comments, and I'll let you know if you're right or wrong. Well, that was the quicker pan version of rice pudding, and that really is super delicious. And you can't believe it's actually sugar-free. And now we can have a look at the oven version of this amazing sugar-free dessert. Before you take it out of the oven, make sure you've got something on the worktop to protect it from the hot dish. By the way, this is the more traditional way of making rice pudding in the UK. And it's looking and smelling gorgeous. As you can see, the consistency is quite different to the saucepan version. Most of the liquid has been absorbed by the rice, but it's still quite moist. Time to give it a try. You can leave the skin on or off. Some like it, some don't. Personally, I love it. Now this is where I add a little cream in this version, directly into the bowl. A little more nutmeg too. Or should I say a lot more? And that is absolutely delicious. Perfect texture and rich and creamy. And that little bit of orange zest really does make a massive difference in this dish. I really hope you give this wonderful traditional dessert a try. I'm sure you and your family will love it. And that's another big thumbs up for this classic dessert, guys. And as mentioned earlier in the video, here is the latest list of my Patreon, PayPal and Super Thank You button supporters. And they are Dan Calgero, Brothers Blackburn, Dawn Sanderson, Paul Dancy, Anne Furry, Joanne, Subi, Nadine, Dirk Kelly, TJ Nails by Tracy Simmons, Grace King, Darrell Elder 1352, Jens K 3250, Mega Health Strike, Kev Frommel, Alma Colleen, Axella Johansson 447, Lavinia Rawlinson, PZF, Vavi Dancers, Ben JX3TE, My Name is Gail, and Erin Morris 7472. Thanks very much, guys. I really do appreciate all that you do in supporting the channel. Well, thank you again for watching. Please like, share, comment and subscribe by hitting the circle above. If you do subscribe, activate the bell icon next to the subscribe button on my channel page. And by doing that, you'll be automatically notified every time I upload a new video. And in the meantime, here's a few of my other videos and playlists that you may want to watch. So until the next time, be safe in your kitchen and bye for now.